Creating cinematic travel vlogs is actually a lot easier than you think. Last year, me and my partner went to Japan for 2 weeks and I created a whole series of cinematic travel vlogs you can watch on my channel. In this video, I'll be teaching you how to do exactly that, covering everything from the gear I used, planning, actually shooting, all the way to editing and color grading. So after watching this video, you should be able to go and shoot your own cinematic travel vlogs while still being able to live in the moment. So let's get started with the camera gear I took with me. We got the camera, the Sony FX30. I absolutely loved traveling with this camera. Got a flip out screen, which pretty much every camera has these days. But what I found super handy was the tally lights and the record button on the front of the camera. Made it so easy to be able to put the camera on a tripod, set it up somewhere, press the record button at the front, and I could see from the tally lights and the screen with the red ring around it that it was recording and I was sure to not miss a shot. Although I wouldn't really recommend this camera if you're someone who's just traveling and wanting to create content. I'll give you some recommendations at the end. Now onto my lenses. I brought two lenses with me, the Sigma 18-50 f2.8 and the Tamron 11-20 f2.8. For traveling, I think this is the perfect combo. You got everything from your wide end 11mm all the way up to your more zoomed in telephoto-ish side at 50mm. As we are shooting on the FX30, which is a crop sensor camera, we need to factor in for the 1.5 times crop. That is a full frame equivalent of 16.5mm all the way up to 75mm. And as much as I would have loved to bring a Sigma 30mm f1.4 with me, it was a lot easier to just have two zooms that covered all focal length ranges, so I could zoom in, zoom out, ensuring I don't miss any shots and I don't waste time fumbling around changing lenses, etc. On my lenses, I got two filters, the same filters on both lenses. The first one, and probably the most important lens filter you can have while traveling, is an ND filter. Basically, ND filter is just sunglasses for your lens. Underneath my ND filter, I'd have a mist filter. This is the filter that really softens and blooms those highlights. I pretty much shot like 75% of the trip with both filters on. Next is the mic. I used the DJI wireless mic version 1, although this is the mic mini I got in hand and the one I'm using right now, and it's probably the one I'd recommend instead of the DJI mic 1, as it's a lot smaller. You can fit everything with the wind muffs and the cable inside the carrying case. So I'd definitely go with the mic mini for travel. I'd also recommend getting a wireless lav like the mic mini over one of these onboard camera mics, because it's a lot easier to clip the mic on to the strap of my bag. Also, I could be as far away as I wanted from the camera while still being able to talk at a normal talking level and having my voice picked up. So yeah, definitely go with the DJI mic mini. For my tripod, I had the Joby GorillaPod 3K Pro. I think the only difference between this one, the Pro one, and the non-Pro one is this one's built with these metal legs and has this quick release place on the ball head onto the camera bag, which was undoubtedly the hardest thing for me to pick out. I looked at over probably close to 20 different bags in person. I didn't want it to be ugly. And well, what bag did I end up choosing? I went with the PGY Tech One Go Solo version 2 6-liter sling. Here are a few of my favorite features about this bag. Slots for the batteries. We have a little compartment, a lock for the zip. But another compartment, have this little hook, which is where I'd carry my tripod. Oh, I might just do a full review on this bag soon. Okay, so what are my recommendations for people? So, this is my first group of recommendations. This is the person who's just getting into content creation, just want to have some cool videos for memories, just want to, dabble into making YouTube videos as a hobby for the more beginner budget, which is around the $1,000 Australian mark. I'd probably go with the DJI Osmo 3. Get the creator kit, it comes with the mic and extra battery and stuff. From the footage I've seen and I've edited with, amazing camera. So small, easy to use, comes with a mic, so that's some money saved there. The second group of people is your more intermediate, taking it a bit more seriously, is growing a following. Here I'd suggest the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II with two different sets of lenses. The first set I'd recommend is either the exact same set I have, Tamron 11-20 f2.8 and the Sigma 18-50 f2.8, or if you're someone who likes primes, likes a lower aperture, likes a lot sharper footage, I'd recommend the Sigma 16mm f1.4 paired with the 30mm f1.4. Just depends on what kind of workflow style you have. And the third, which is the direction I'm heading towards and what I would possibly be upgrading to, is the Sony ZV-E1 with the Sony 16-35. Next is the planning. How much planning did I do into these actual videos? Quick note, when I talk planning, talk about planning the videos, not planning for the trip, like making your itinerary and stuff. I'm gonna assume that's all already done. And to be honest, I didn't plan much. As much as I wanted to shoot these beautiful cinematic frames, my top priority was still to just enjoy the trip and live in the moment. But in saying that, there's still a few key filmmaking principles we need to remember to give our vlogs that cinematic edge. And I'm going to break it down into two categories. The first is your shot list: wide, medium, tight. Keep it simple. Every time you're at a new location or doing a new activity, take a wide, a medium, and a tight shot. Your wide shot will be your establishing shot. For me, this was the entrance to Disney Sea as we arrived. You just need to introduce where you are and what you're doing. Next is your medium shot. This is where you close in on your subject and start to tell the story of what's happening. For me, this was walking through Disney Sea, going on different rides, or just talking to the camera. And last is your tight shots. This is what most people miss and what will really give that extra spice to your videos. This is where you capture all the small details in your scene to really push it towards a certain emotion or aesthetic. For me, this was the small details of the location, the architecture, the fancy handrails, the funny signs. This is what will take your videos from a yeah to a oh, that was good. The next thing we need to remember is to capture B-roll for our A-roll. This is something where I see people either do one or the other. We've all seen the vlog where it's just a guy talking to his camera for 20 minutes straight during the day. On the flip side, we've all seen the Instagram video of a travel highlight where it's just 3 minutes worth of footage cut to some music. You need both if you want to be able to create emotion and tell a compelling story. So what's the difference between A-roll and B-roll? There's a whole detailed explanation, you can go into both. But for vlogging specifically, this is how I like to think of it. A-roll is us talking to the camera. Vlogging. B-roll is showing what you're talking about. A-roll is the primary vehicle that drives the story. B-roll is just the pretty sights we see along the way. So how do we shoot cinematic A-roll and B-roll? When shooting, there's one main thing I like to keep in mind. Document your experience. People are watching your vlogs for a reason. If you're excited because you're going to a place you've only dreamed of going, if you're nervous because you're about to do something that's a bit uncomfortable, vlog it. Document it. Share those emotions with your viewer. And you don't need to find, the perfect lighting with the most amazing background to do it. Just whip out your camera, and as long as you have decent lighting, it'll be alright. There's this virtue, I guess you can call it, that my partner uses when creating content. Act like you're on FaceTime to a friend. Keep it super casual when talking to the camera. You could just leave it at that. That's how a majority of the vlogs are. But to really add that cinematic spice, you need to nail your B-roll. There are 3 types of B-roll shots I always make sure I get. Transitions, setting the scenes, and the details. Transition shots are the shots that help you go from one scene, one location, one activity to another. These are shots of you getting on a train, walking into a store, or walking through the city. Transition shots are also the most straightforward shots to get, but will improve the visual storytelling and pacing of your videos the most. Think of it like this. You could have 2 separate vlogging clips, one of you shopping, buying clothes, and the next one of you at a restaurant eating dinner. If you were to play these 2 clips, one after another, your viewer might think, oh yeah, I guess we're shopping now. Oh, we eating? Okay, I guess we're eating. Oh, look, it's night out, so it must be dinner. Wait, how much time has passed? And instead of your viewer being engaged and following you along for your story, you've lost them. Now, let's do it again, but add our transition shots. Play that clip of you shopping for clothes. And instead of going straight to that second vlogging clip, I'm going to bring in some background music, and then I'm going to cut to you at the checkout counter, get a shot of us walking out the store, one of us walking through the city, through the shopping center. Maybe we're doing a little bit of window shopping, and then another shot of us walking into the restaurant, and then we play that clip of us eating at the restaurant. You haven't said any extra words. You haven't needed to vlog more. All these little B-roll clips have added enough context to the viewer to show that time has passed and you're now having dinner, while keeping them engaged and following you along your story the entire time. Next, we need to set the scene. This is how we introduce new locations, activities, etc. These are your establishing shots. Shots of how crowded the city is. Shots of outside to show the weather. Is it snowing or is it a hot summer day with the sun out? This helps us to set the tone of what we're doing. Say we're back vlogging at the shops buying clothes. If we're rushing to get to the next place, but the queue is super busy, get a quick shot to show just how busy the queue is. In the next, you can get a shot of you running to the train station and showing how packed the train station is. And then another shot of you getting off the train and running towards the restaurant. And lastly, is your details. This is the cherry on top and what will really add that extra spice to set apart your videos from others. Quick recap on our imaginary vlog scenario. We've successfully gone from shopping for clothes to eating dinner, and we've set the tone by showing we're rushing to make our reservation. And now we're super happy and relieved to be sitting and eating dinner after all that we just went through. To really show our change in mood and to keep our viewers engaged, this is where all these extra little details come in hand. As we're vlogging and talking about how happy we are, we will overlay all that A-roll vlogging footage of details of the space that we're personally attracted to. There's no right or wrong detail of what to shoot. What's important is that you're shooting what you like. This is how you build your world for the viewer to jump into. Okay, we're almost there. We've planned our video, gone out, and we've actually traveled and shot the video. Now it's time to edit it and bring all of that together. And this is undoubtedly one of the most important stages. How you edit a video could make or break it, but this is how I do it. First, I do the rough cut, add music and b-roll, color grade my footage, then do the sound design. So what's a rough cut? Or how do I do the rough cut? Once I've created a new project and imported all of my footage into it, I will go through and watch every single piece of content. While doing this, I'll cut down all of the A-roll into its usable parts, and if I see a specific piece of B-roll, maybe it's a transition clip or just, I don't know, something I found funny that I want to make sure I include, I'll add that into the timeline just on a different layer. Also, as I'm going through and cutting all the footage, I'll color code each section of the video into different scenes. For my Living Life Like a Movie video, you can see that all the Disney Sea footage is orange, all the pink footage is the gacha machines, all the yellow footage is us eating, etc. This just helps keep our timeline organized and helps know how much clips we have left of a certain scene. Next is adding music and B-roll. As we have all our A-roll cut into its usable sections and grouped together in different scenes, this makes it a lot easier for us to structure the overall story, as we can move entire scenes around for better pacing or to create a more interesting story. And yes, I do this all the time. You don't need to lay out your video in the chronological order of the way it happened. If you see something from the end and you think that's a better hook, move it to the front. There's no reason you can't. As long as your video makes sense and the pacing isn't off, game is game. Once I have my story laid out the way I want, I'll look for music to accompany it. And don't just choose any instrumental and throw it on in the background. Be intentional with the music you choose. If you're vlogging you skydiving or going for a hike, maybe you should choose inspiring and cinematic orchestral music to help build to that climax. On the other hand, if you're just vlogging, walking through Harajuku, talking about clothes, you could probably just throw on lo-fi, mellow, boom bap type beat in the background. Don't overlook this. Music is a big part of the viewing experience and can be a powerful tool to tell story. By the way, if you need royalty-free music, go to the description below, use my Epidemic sound, you'll get a 7-day free trial. Not sponsored, I've used a lot of platforms and I just like Epidemic the best. Another tip while editing, don't follow the montage vlogging structure. I just think that's so boring. Pacing is super important if you want to keep your viewer engaged. You need to be able to bring your viewer along the ride with you, take them through the ups and downs and show them more than one or two emotions. Something really easy that I do that helps with pacing and viewer retention is I put a lot of B-roll over my vlogging clips. If you watch any of my vlogs, travel vlogs, there's hardly long periods of me actually vlogging, talking to the camera. I'll keep the entire vlogging portion in, but I'll use the audio as more of a voiceover, and I'll use appropriate B-roll footage to keep this visual storytelling aspect moving. For the majority, this is where they finish editing their video and they'll go upload it to the interwebs. But we are not the majority over here. If you really want to go that extra mile and make your footage stand out, color grade it and add sound effects. So when it comes to my actual camera settings, I shoot everything in 4K at 30 frames per second in S-Log3 in 10-bit 422. That just means everything's super high quality, and I have a lot of flexibility with dynamic range and color grading. But you don't need all that to make a compelling and cinematic video. So when it comes to color grading and filmmaking in general, I'm heavily inspired by anime. And as shocking as it may seem, I'm not a movie person. I haven't seen that much movies. So when I'm making videos, I just want people to feel emotion. I want people to watch my vlogs and feel nostalgic and warm. I want them to feel like they're reminiscing on their own trips. One thing that helps me achieve this is I draw from a lot of the colors in anime. I really love how deep and saturated all the colors are and how properly exposed everything is. I feel like this just really gives it this like almost dreamlike feeling, because stuff in real life doesn't look like that. So I take that along with the classic warm highlights, cool shadows, and I fuse it together. And lucky for you, you don't have to do that. I've just dropped my anime LUT pack, which is all the LUTs I used during my 2024 Japan trip. It's super simple to use, as easy as drag and drop, and I've also included a video that shows you how to get the most out of these LUTs. These LUTs work in basically every editing software out there, with every camera out there. Also works really well with iPhone footage. So link in the description if you want to purchase my anime LUT pack and get the beautiful colors you see in anime on your own footage. And last is sound design. This is what really adds that little oomph to your ears as you're watching these vlogs. I keep this super simple. If I'm watching a scene and I see something that I feel like should be making noise, I add that noise in. Could just be opening a door, trains going by, cars driving, birds chirping in the background. Literally any of that really builds the world you're in, not only visually but also now sonically. And if you didn't know, a lot of my outdoor footage, I actually create a lot of the atmosphere myself. I will layer a mixture of, sounds of people walking in parks and talking, sounds of birds in the trees chirping. I'll mix a bunch of different whooshes together to try to simulate the sound of wind blowing. All of that just to turn it all the way down in the mix and most people won't even notice. But subconsciously helps us transform into your world trying to create. And that's exactly how I create my cinematic travel vlogs. And if there's anything I want you to take away, is that you should never prioritize shooting over enjoying your trip. It sounds crazy coming from a videographer who will intentionally stop to set up his camera and get a specific shot, but these are your vlogs. And if you want to show the best video you can, you need to actually be enjoying your trip. So pack light, plan right, and go buy my LUTs, link in the description. Thank you for watching this video. It's a bit longer than my usual videos. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've learned a lot. If you have any questions about specific things, leave a comment. I'll do my best to answer. If I get enough questions around certain topics, I'll just make videos on that. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. 500 subscribers is coming. See ya.